All right, we need to talk about global inequality. Because if you look at the latest World Inequality Report, the reality of our global economy, well, it isn't just a little unbalanced, it's absolutely staggering. So let's dive in and break down what the data is actually telling us.
The report doesn't waste any time. It just kicks right off with this one powerful statement, in all caps, no less. This isn't just some dry finding in a study, it's an alarm bell. And this single sentence, really, it sets the stage for everything we're about to uncover.
So just how unequal are we really talking about here? Let's get into the numbers, because they reveal a wealth divide that is so extreme, it's honestly kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Okay, just look at this breakdown. It's wild. The top 10% of the world's population owns 75% of all global wealth. Meanwhile, the entire bottom half of humanity, we're talking billions of people, gets to share just 2%. Let me put that another way. Imagine there's $100 of wealth on the planet. 75 of those dollars belong to a handful of people at the top, while 50 people at the bottom have to split just $2 between them.
And if you think that sounds extreme, believe me, it gets even more concentrated. This number, less than 60,000, represents this tiny, tiny group of multimillionaires at the very top of the pyramid. And get this, these individuals control more wealth than the bottom half of the human race combined. That's an unbelievable amount of financial power in the hands of a group small enough to fit inside a single football stadium.
But these aren't just numbers on a page. This kind of inequality has profound, real-world consequences. It creates these massive gaps in daily life and in basic, fundamental opportunities.
Take education, for instance. In parts of Europe, about 7,400 euros are invested in a child's education every single year. But in sub-Saharan Africa, that number plummets to just 220 euros. That's a more than 40-to-1 difference. It means right from the very beginning of life, the opportunity gap is already immense. It's just baked right into the system.
And this inequality, it even stretches to the health of our planet. When we look at who's actually responsible for carbon emissions from things like private investments and assets, the picture is just incredibly skewed. The wealthiest 10% are responsible for a massive 77% of these emissions, and the poorest half of the world, a mere 3%.
So here's the crucial takeaway from that. The very people who contribute the absolute least to climate change are the ones living in the regions that are most vulnerable to its devastating effects. We're talking droughts, floods, you name it. It's a profound injustice, and it's right at the heart of the climate crisis.
So, how did we get here? Did this all just happen by accident? Well, the report argues, pretty convincingly, that it's not an accident at all. It actually points to specific mechanisms inside our global systems that are actively keeping this inequality going. Let's take a look. This number, 1%, represents the share of global GDP that flows from poor countries to rich countries every single year. It's happening through the ordinary mechanics of the global financial system, things like high returns on investments for the wealthy and really unfavorable lending terms for developing nations. It's this quiet, systemic transfer of wealth that's just constantly moving upwards.
And then, of course, there's the tax system. You'd think it would help balance the scales, but it often does the exact opposite. The report points out that the ultra-rich frequently pay a smaller percentage of their wealth in taxes than your average household. And what's more, their effective tax rates have actually been going down over time.
Okay, so after laying out this really stark picture of the problem and what's causing it, the report makes this crucial pivot. It shifts from diagnosing the problem to talking about the future, arguing that this state of affairs is definitely not inevitable. Which brings us to the fundamental question that's just hanging over all of this data, right? Is this extreme inequality just a permanent feature of our world now? Is there anything that can actually be done about it? And the report's answer is so powerful and clear. It says no. This situation is not our destiny. It is the result of decades of specific policy choices. And if it's choices that got us here, well, that means different choices can lead us somewhere else entirely. So what would those different choices actually look like? Well, the report lays out a pretty clear pathway. It starts with fair taxation, making sure everyone contributes their share. It proposes a global wealth tax on multimillionaires to fund public services we all need, like education and healthcare. And it involves creating climate policies that specifically target the huge, outsized impact of the wealthiest.
And that's where it leaves us. The data is all on the table, the potential solutions have been proposed. The report's core message is that our current level of inequality was built by decisions made in the past. So the ultimate question it leaves us with is a pretty simple but profound one. Faced with this reality, what choice gets made next?